Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Money Down Pod. I am Kayvon and Shawn alongside my guy Shawn White. This is the college football recap. The second week of the college football playoff rankings are out, and we are here to break them down and have some fun. What storylines stick out? What storylines don't? And what is this recent edition telling us about these teams and who has the best shot to make the playoffs? Shawn White, how you doing today, man?
Doing great. We literally just got these rankings like 2 minutes ago. So
yeah, it's a live reaction.
Yeah, this is about as close to live as you can get from us. Yeah. Like I literally just looked at it.
No, he's right. So let's get right into it because I love how ESPN does it from 25 up. They go 25, they show it that way, right? They do 25 to 17, then they go 17 to 14. I like it that way. So let's start with the bottom and work our way up. Okay, I know everyone wants to talk about the top four, but I think it's interesting to start this way. First of all, big congrats to UTSA. They deserve to be in the top 25. They are undefeated. I get it's Conference USA, but they are a good football team, so good for them. No one cares about them, but good for them. The main thing that is very important here is Utah. Utah has now slipped their way into the top 25. And a lot of people are going to say, well, Kayvon, what the hell does that mean? That's huge for Oregon because a lot of people are smashing on Oregon's resume and how the only win they have is against Ohio State. There's no one left on the schedule. Well, Utah's playing very good football right now. Oregon's going to have to beat Utah in the Pac-12 title game. If Utah can keep playing the way they are and stay ranked, that is just another big-time win for Oregon that can help them move up the standings possibly, maybe even get them to number 2 seed. You never know. So that's the first thing that jumped out to me when I saw Utah in there.
So let me make sure I'm getting these rankings right. Is your rankings reading Michigan at 6?
Yeah.
Over Michigan State, even though they lost.
So now the committee's contradicting themselves.
Yeah, that's what we talked about last week, and I told you that they'll flip on it in a heartbeat.
Yep. So now they're contradicting
head to head. Now we're flipping the head to head. So what are we really doing here with these picks sometimes? And Bama being 2, I'm gonna be honest with you. I watched that whole LSU game. My wife's an LSU fan, so I watched it with her. They had no business not blowing them out as bad as LSU's playing this year. And as bad as that quarterback is that LSU has, I mean, my wife was screaming the whole time. Bama being 2 is a little shaky to me right now. If we're going eye test, I mean, they're not passing the eye test these last few weeks. And if we're going resume, who have they beat? Mississippi State, who's not the top 25 anymore after getting beat again? I mean, Bama being 2, I'm starting to believe you. They're doing everything they can to get them in at this point.
So I'm saying it's the most shaky number 2 seed I can remember. It's unbelievable to me that Alabama is sitting there at number 2 after at home barely beating a team that just fired their coach. They've got nothing to play for. A lot of their players were injured. That was a terrible performance by Alabama. They ran for a total of 6 yards. 6 yards in the Nick Saban era. That is awful. Alabama should not be 2. But back to your point about Michigan. I get that it's recency bias. I get that Michigan State just got waxed by Purdue. I get it. But for them to say head-to-head matters so much and then 1 week later flip it, that's where I start to get worried about the committee a little bit, you know? That's where I start to say, okay, because what has Michigan done in this 1 week? They beat Indiana? Everyone's beaten Indiana. Like, that's where you start to say, okay, what is the committee really trying to do here? Are they trying to prop up Ohio State, maybe? But then you would say maybe that doesn't make sense because Ohio State still – look, Ohio State still has a very tough schedule. The Big Ten as a whole has probably the toughest schedule remaining. I mean, Ohio State still has to play Michigan State and Michigan, and then the winner, Iowa or whatever in the conference championship. Like, Michigan still has to play Penn State this week. Michigan State still has to play Penn State. There's still so much things that can happen in the Big Ten that things could get very shaky around that whole area.
The Cincinnati moving up too is a little. The committee, I think, heard a lot of those chirps from last week.
I just don't think they had anything else to do with Cincinnati. I honestly think because Michigan State lost, I thought that they were just going to drop Michigan State to 5. That's what I thought was going to happen, and they were going to leave Cincinnati at 6. But I think that they sat there and said, Michigan State lost. We can't. You know what? Let's make everyone happy. Let's move Cincinnati up to number 5, and then they can be one spot outside of the playoffs, and we'll drop Michigan State down. That's what they must have said.
Now, let me put this suggestion out there. I think the committee looked at that scenario that I put out last week with the Big Ten, and that's why they negated the whole head-to-head argument. The scenario of Ohio State beating Michigan State but losing to Michigan. If Michigan's too far back, they're not going to jump Cincinnati 3 spots up. Now they're jumping them 2 spots.
Oh, that's interesting.
If that happens, they're jumping Michigan over Cincinnati into the playoff at 1 loss for beating Ohio State like that, and they still get the Big Ten team in, and they're still going to be like, oh, well, Cincinnati couldn't get in because of wins. They beat Ohio State. They're the Big Ten winners at 1 loss. Let's put Michigan in. That's why they jumped them, because Michigan now has a better shot than Michigan State to get in, even though they lost to Michigan State head-to-head. I think that's why Michigan's where they're at.
Yeah, that's
their back.
No, that's what they do. That's how they look at it. I 100% agree. That is literally how they look at it. Texas A&M, it just so happened. And look, Texas A&M is playing a very good football right now. But the more Texas A&M wins, the more that looks good for Alabama. And the more they're going to keep putting it up because Alabama lost to a really good Texas A&M team, which it's just like, to me, and also one thing Cincinnati still has going for them, Notre Dame keeps getting moved. Like, Notre Dame is still in the top 10. They are sticking around the top 10. As long as Notre Dame stays in that top 10, that is something that Cincinnati fans can keep pointing to. I know they've looked terrible as of late, and that is really Cincinnati fans. You guys got to get it together. That is kill. You have game day at your place. You're at home. You cannot almost lose to Tulsa like that. You just can't let that happen. But,
the quarterback fell down. The one could have won. They could have won that game. They had the chance for the 2-point to tie it. I mean, if they'd have win in right there. That's Cincinnati looks rough every week. It wouldn't shock me if Cincinnati don't get upset here soon.
I could see Cincinnati. I mean, they still have to play SMU and Houston, so and those 2 teams can score. They could definitely lose. I wouldn't be shocked either. But if they do keep winning, Notre Dame keeping winning keeps them alive. I'm telling you, if Notre Dame loses and they start to drop, it's done. Notre Dame, they are really depending on Notre Dame there. The only other thing I took from it is that Oregon's sitting pretty right now. I think Oregon and Georgia are the 2 teams that are sitting the most pretty right now, because Georgia,
Georgia can lose, they'll be fine.
Exactly. Oregon, they have an easy – if they lose, they're done. But they have such an easy schedule, and the committee's telling us they don't care about that. The Oregon just beat one of the worst teams in the Pac-12 in Washington this week, and Oregon moved up. They moved up a spot to number 3. That right there is telling me that as long as Oregon keeps winning, they're sitting pretty, and they can get as high as number 2 even.
Yeah, that's very possible. And like we were talking about, this, like I said, this is a lot of things. I'm kind of piecing this together. It just is shocking to me. That is exactly why they went back on that head-to-head. I'm telling you. It's so that Michigan can jump them if they do beat Ohio State, because you can't jump them 3 spots on it, but you can jump them 2. That is so smart by the committee if they want to keep the big schools in like that. The other thing that you were talking about propping Bama up with Texas A&M, them dropping Auburn to 17, we like barely talked about it right before we went on because we wanted to make sure our thoughts were there. Them dropping Auburn to 17 also gives them a little more protection because if Auburn does keep winning, they'll stay in that range because they play Mississippi State this weekend, who dropped out from that 17 spot.
Yep.
So the winner, if Mississippi State does upset them, they'll just throw Mississippi State at the end of the 25 again in there for beating the 17 team, and they'll be like a 4-loss team in the top 25 to prop Bama up a little bit. So that's kind of their little maneuver.
Well, they just did that this year. They put Arkansas at number 25 because Arkansas beat Mississippi State. Before this last win, Arkansas was the last place team in the SEC West. The last place team. And I get the SEC West is a tough division, but they just beat Mississippi State and they said, okay, we'll take Mississippi State out. We'll move Arkansas in because it's just another way for all of that to balance out. You're spot on with that. That's how they work it.
And like we've stated before, we're not fans of any one conference or one team, so we're not biased on this. But there definitely is a SEC lean that the playoffs always had, and they are the best conference. Don't get me wrong; I'm not trying to sit here and argue that they're not the best conference. But this Bama team is very weak. They're a weak 2 seed. If we're being honest, the whole outside of Georgia, all of these teams have massive flaws, and even Georgia's offense is not all that great. If I'm being honest with you. The fact is their defense is going to carry them over about any team in the country unless they have some off day. They're really the only dominant team. But that Bama team's weak at 2 for sure, but they are being propped up a little bit. Even if you're an SEC fan, you kind of got to admit, hey, we're getting propped up here a little bit with this ranking.
Yep, no doubt. I agree. Honestly, that's really all I would put Oregon above them at number 2. And I don't really like the way Ohio State played, so I don't know if I would put Ohio State over Alabama, but I wouldn't have Alabama at number 2. I just wouldn't. I don't think that they're the second best team in the country right now. I understand the potential, and that's why they're putting them there. But Oregon has the single best win in college football. They do. Nobody can say they've gone and beat Ohio State in Ohio State. Right now, Oregon has the best win in college football. It's just that plain and simple. And Texas A&M probably second with beating Alabama at home. Baylor at number 13. They dropped 1 after that loss to TCU. Only 1 spot.
I think that's an Oklahoma prop up for them if they win this week.
That's why. They didn't want to drop them too far because if Oklahoma, and see, we forget about Oklahoma because they didn't play this week. Oklahoma's still sitting there at 8. You're talking about jumping spots. If Oklahoma goes and beats Baylor this week, they probably move up 1.
If Oklahoma wins out, they're in. So
they're in. They're in for sure. It's not even a question. But
I think what they did with Oklahoma State's interesting too, putting them at 10.
Yep. Well, yeah. I mean, if Oklahoma State wins out, they're giving them a lane. They're giving them a lane. No doubt. They have a lane for sure if Oklahoma State wins out because they would have beat Baylor, they would have beaten Oklahoma, and then they would have beaten Oklahoma again in the championship game. So they for sure have a shot if they win out. It'll be interesting, man. I mean, those are really the only takeaways I have from it right off the bat there.
Yeah, the first week's always a big shock, and then the second week's always a slight adjustment. We had the upset with Michigan State, obviously. Michigan State came out and just played bad. Purdue, the spoiler makers, as some people call them, they come out and they play for their top 5 matchups. So they come out to play. They're well coached. So, I mean, Michigan State just called it. I was wrong on that pick. I had Michigan State, so I was wrong on that pick. But Purdue came out and won the game. It always happens. Wake Forest got upset too. They were not on the line, but they got upset ranking wise. So
no, that was craziness there.
That ended the ACC. The ACC's done.
Oh yeah, the ACC's been done. It would have been tough, really, for any way for that to work out. That's all my thoughts on the playoff. Any others for you?
No, I think that's good. I mean, we had the live reaction because, like I said, it's week 2. Next week, this weekend of games is kind of a weaker weekend anyway, so I don't know if we're going to get much change. So I think we just have the Nebraska and Florida topics to cover, and then we'll get you some picks and get you on out of here.
Yeah, no doubt. The Florida thing, let's start here. The Florida thing's very, very interesting what they're doing with what's happening down in Florida. I said this last year. I said this on the show a couple weeks ago. Dan Mullen if you want to rebut it, you can. You're wrong. Dan Mullen 100% thought he was going to the NFL. It was set, sealed, and done. He thought he was going to the NFL, and the NFL wasn't ready for him. No one offered him the job. That's why they played so bad against Oklahoma. This all happened since that Oklahoma game in that conference bowl. And in that bowl game, they got smoked by Oklahoma. And he came out there in the press conference and said, this is not our team. We're messing around this game. We don't care. The players took that to heart. The players haven't been caring. No one's been caring. So he goes out there and fires these coaches that he's had with him for a long time, going back to Mississippi State even. I'm telling you guys right now, if Florida does not win out, they've got Stanford, they've got Missouri, and they've got Florida State. If they don't win all three of those games, boy, oh boy, oh boy, Dan Mullen might be gone. And it would be a stupid move by Florida, by the way. Dan Mullen's a hell of a coach. Now, he has some recruiting issues. I do not understand why he's having problems about not wanting to recruit during the season. For the life of me, I cannot understand that. I don't get that. That's something that's got to change. And I'm sure he's probably willing to change that, but he's a very good coach. Like, remember, they were almost in the title game in the conference playoff in the college football playoff last year. They lost by 6 points to that Alabama team in the SEC title game. That Alabama team went on to roll everybody in the college football playoff. They lost by 6 to them. So I understand he had some really good players there. I would not be the one wanting to fire Dan Mullen. But with that being said, Dan Mullen's got to get his act together. He doesn't look like he's all in. He looks like he's out of it. He looks like he doesn't care. He's got to get this recruiting mess under control. If he can do all that, I wouldn't be firing him. I know I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth. I just think he's too good of a coach to fire, but there are some issues going on that he's got to get under control.
Yeah, so full disclosure on this. I'm, like I said, not a specific team college fan wise, but I am a massive, massive Jacksonville Jaguars fan. I mean, you see it on there. If you haven't seen our NFL show, I talk about them. Not a huge fan base nationally, but I'm a massive fan from North Carolina. So what happens is I actually follow a ton of like Jags beat writers and reporters. Well, at the bigger cities, this doesn't happen, but most all of them cross-cover Florida Gators on Saturday. So I get their news constantly on Twitter all Saturday long. So when it comes to recruiting thing, from what I can tell, that's why he fired at least one of those coaches is because they weren't recruiting to his standard. So that's one of the reasons it was. Grantham got fired because of the defense. I think those firings were almost to save his own butt at this point.
Oh, they definitely were to save his own butt. He had to do something.
So the thing with the Florida fans are kind of out there. These beat writers are out there too, all a little bit delusional. They all want his head at this point. Like it's not just the next 3 games. All the writers and fans want him gone now.
Yep.
So that's the thing about it. They haven't been playing well, and that upset to South Carolina was one of the worst losses.
You can't lose. It just goes back, man. He has not had this team mentally prepared. They are not, ever since that bowl game against Oklahoma, dude, he thought he was gone. And since then, he hasn't been able to get control of this team. You cannot lose to South Carolina in their first year. You can't do that, dude. Like, that is a really bad loss. And I'm telling you, I know they all want him gone. And I know I'm sounding like both sides because he's messed up. But also, you got to look at it like, damn, when he is right, he's a damn good coach.
Well, this is what I want to get to. These are like beat writers and radio hosts out there that cover them and the Jags, right? Some of them are level-headed when it comes to the Jags as a franchise. Like, they weren't picking us to win, like, to make the playoffs, do all this and that. They lose their mind over Florida. I saw a tweet talking about firing Mullen. They put out a top 3 list, correct, of the head coaches they replace him with. Number 1 was Mario Cristobal. In what world is he coming to Florida?
No, he's not.
Like, number 2 was Lane Kiffin. In what world is he coming to Florida at this
Lane
point?
Kiffin's going to take LSU before he takes Florida.
Yeah, exactly. So these Florida fans, they get real delusional real quick. So they better be careful what they wish for. Mullen's going to need to get it back on track because I do believe what you're saying. He definitely did want to go to the NFL. I think he thought he had that Jets job, to be honest. And then they took Saleh.
He did.
So I think he needs to get back on track. He needs to decide if he wants to actually coach in college, for one, and he needs to turn it around because if not, he's going to end up fired. And I'm not going to lie, I wouldn't be shocked if Urban didn't put him on staff because they're so close. Or either he'd have to go take a smaller college job. It's whatever he wants to do at this point. But he'll be pulling cash from Florida because they're going to have to pay that buyout.
Oh, yeah.
They're crazy about football in Gainesville, so – he's going to have to get it right. And if he loses one of these games, he might get fired on the podium.
He might. But I just want to say, Florida fans, I get it. We're in this world right now. Just take your brain. 1 year ago, you guys just went toe-to-toe in the SEC championship game against one of the best teams we have seen in a long time in Alabama. Like, I get it. I get that it was tough and all that stuff, but he is a damn good coach. If he can just get these things under control, these are big things. These are not minor things. It starts with him. His attitude's got to be better. His intensity's got to be better. He's got to get out of this lackadaisical mindset. The recruiting's got to be better. If he can get that going, I think he's worth giving it a year to make sure he can get it going. If not, then you move on. I would just press the pause on that.
Did you see Anthony Richardson hurt his knee dancing before the game?
Yeah, I did. It's just
that's college right there.
Yeah,
that's
that is college. That's a good way to put it. That is definitely college. I want to move on to Nebraska here, and look, I am very, very happy about this decision. And Nebraska fans, you're an absolute idiot. Look at me on camera right here. You are an idiot if you think that this is a bad decision. First of all, answer me this. Who the hell are you going to get? Okay? USC is open. LSU is open. Penn State very well might become open. TCU is open. Texas Tech just got filled. Who the hell are you going to get, Nebraska fans? Huh? Who are you going to get? You're going to tell Matt Campbell to come over? Get out of here, okay? He's not leaving Iowa State for Nebraska. What Scott Frost has done, this is my biggest pet peeve, and this kind of goes into your last argument on the NFL show about the way. Go listen to it if you haven't, guys. It's the NFL show. We just did it, episode 9 of the Money Down Pod. Shawn got into a big conversation about how some of these fans are delusional with the way they're grading out these rookie quarterbacks. They're looking too much into wins and how they look game by game instead of just the long season and giving them time. These fans sometimes look way too much into wins. And I understand you want wins. And I understand it's year 4 and he hasn't even made a bowl game. Nebraska is a much better team than they are 3-9. Nebraska is a very good football team. I'm serious. They have lost a total of single digits every single game. There are teams that have lost combined all of that in one game to one team. Scott Frost is building something. If you want to look the right way at college, this is how you look at it. Look at the culture. Is the culture growing or is it getting worse? Don't look at the record. Don't look at the wins and loss. Look at the culture and the play on the field. Is the culture getting better? Is the play on the field getting better? And the obvious answer for Nebraska is yes. So you're going to throw all that out the window to start over again? Because nobody you get is going to come in there and get you guys to 9 wins in one season. You get that, right? That is the smartest thing that Nebraska has done in a very, very long time. Now, this next year's it for Scott Frost. He's got to show the wins this year. but sometimes fans need to look at the culture and the program. Scott Frost needs to unmarry himself from Adrian Martinez. Adrian Martinez has had a fine year this year, but he has been way too dependent on Adrian Martinez. He has married himself his whole Nebraska career to him. He's got to move on. He's got to get another quarterback in there. He's got to get some big recruits in there. But look, that team is 3-9, and they're playing harder than Alabama, who's the number 2 team in the country. They are not quitting. They are playing hard football because they like Scott Frost, and that's a positive sign.
Completely agree. And it's like you said about the rookie quarterback stuff, it's like I'm talking about with Dan Mullen. Sometimes you got to have patience as a fan base. Lord knows with the teams that I have, I've been patient for 15, 20 years. My whole life I've been patient. So you got to stay patient with some things. I understand that's hard for some people. Listen,
I get it too.
I'm as hard as you can be on Nebraska, Tennessee, USC, Texas, and Florida. I find all 5 of the fan bases almost insufferable. And I'm being honest with you. I'm sorry. Some of the things that you all say and get upset about drive me insane. Scott Frost is the best coach you're going to get right now. It's like Kayvon said, all those other jobs are open. That's not even including if Mel Tucker was to go to a bigger job. Michigan State would be open.
There you go.
I mean, at this point, Nebraska needs to realize what they are as a program. Are they maybe like Minnesota at this point? Because if PJ Fleck left, they'd be about on par with them as job openings, in my opinion. So they made the right choice keeping Scott Frost. But what you said is actually the biggest point of them all. They've got to get rid of Adrian Martinez after this year. They've got to find a new quarterback, whether it be transfer portal or whether it be one that they've recruited that's been sitting. And Scott Frost would know because he's probably been watching them play this whole time. So they have got to figure it out between those two. Nebraska's got to realize that they've got to build their program completely different. Ever since they went to the Big Ten and couldn't pull those Texas recruits anymore, it's been over for them. So until they learn how to recruit Big Ten style and play that style, which Scott Frost has been doing well. They run the ball. They play defense. They play Big Ten football now, which they weren't doing under Bo Pelini and all that.
No.
They do what they need to do. They got to keep Scott Frost. They got to be happy with him. And that was the correct decision. He needed one more year at least, get a new quarterback in there, see how they play next year. See if they can turn that corner, because Nebraska, nobody's walking through that door to save you. It's not going to be.
Nobody.
It's not going to be. You're not going to catch the top rising up stars because they can't recruit there. You're not a recruiting power. You can't recruit Texas anymore. That was your big issue. You should have stayed in the Big 12 if you want to be like that.
Completely agree. I mean, not many teams can say that they can go at Oklahoma and only lose 23-16, at Michigan State 23-20, versus Michigan 32-29, at Minnesota 30-23, at versus Ohio State 26-17. That's not a bad football program. That is a positive sign. They're a 3-7 football team, and they're playing their asses off for this guy. That means a lot right there. He's just got to get he's got to get Martinez out there. You have a better quarterback, you probably win 2 or 3 of those one-score games. You probably do. It's just that simple. You have a couple, but you're right. He has adapted the Big Ten style. Now he's just got to get a couple of names in there, some 4-star, some 5-star names, get the fan base exciting. Scott Frost is a good coach, man. You don't take UCF undefeated for no reason. All right, he's a good football coach. Just Nebraska fans are realizing, hopefully, maybe not, like you say, that this program was way farther off than they thought. It doesn't take 4 years. It takes 8 years. Really, it takes 9 years. It takes time. It takes a lot of time to bring a program to where it should be. They've got to give them time. I love that they're giving them one more year, and I'll be fascinated to watch how things go next year.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm really just shitting on the delusional ones. I mean, they pack that stadium out every time. They're big Cornhusker fans, and I'm not lying to you. If you heard the last college football show, I had Ohio State beating y'all at 40-14. Y'all came out and impressed me. That team impressed me, and I ate my words on that. Whenever you can come out and prove me wrong, I love it. I'll admit when I'm wrong. I was wrong on Nebraska, Ohio State this week. They are actually a well-coached team, like Kayvon was saying. They came out, they played well, they did what they had to do. And with the 4 and 5 star recruit talk, I mean, Martinez came in like that, and Scott Frost stuck by him. So that is going to resonate with a few of these 4 and 5 star recruits that, hey, even if I don't show up that freshman, sophomore year, this guy's going to stand behind me and keep going with me. I'm not going to have to transfer out of here and go somewhere else. So that is one good thing that keeping Martinez in. It's just time to go at this point, get a new quarterback in, see what you look like without him. And hey, maybe next year I'm eating my words. Y'all win a lot of games, and y'all are right back on the track you need to be on. But you started the right step right there and keeping Frost, and that's where you're at. It's a good job on y'all's part.
Completely agree. Well said. All right, Shawn, let's do our picks and get on out of here, my guy. Who do you have? By the way, if you're new to the show, thank you for joining us. This is the Money Down Pod. We do this every single week for college and NFL. It's called our third and short, and our third and long, our third and short, our favorite pick or picks of the week. Our third and long are some long shots that we really think has a chance to cash. So, Shawn, without further ado, what is your third and short? And also tell us how things went last week.
Yeah, so last week, I put out several. I really liked the lines last week, so I did miss on that Nebraska pick. Obviously, I had Wake Forest beating a UNC. UNC ended up pulling it out.
I will say though, we both had the over in that game, and that over went way over.
Yeah, and the other one I missed was Michigan State. I thought they'd win. They got upset, so that was it. The ones I hit on, I had Oregon -7. That was a hit for me. I loved Illinois going in, especially with how that was. That was hitting early. Once they went up 14, I knew that one was going to cash for me. And I'm trying to remember my last pick.
I thought that was it.
Yeah, with West Virginia, Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
Yep. So this week on my third and short, my lock in, I love Michigan this week, winning it outright against Penn State. I think Franklin might be a little bit out the door, like we've been talking about, trying to get that USC. And I think Michigan's going to come out blazing. So that's a third and short for me. And I'd also kind of like Wake -2 against NC State. I think they bounce back, and NC State's moving up. That should be a good game. Actually, one of the better games of the weekend. It's kind of a weaker slate, but I think Wake -2 against NC State. I'd give that another third and short. So those are my two.
Awesome. Yeah, love that. And I had, and we both, by the way, were on this Georgia Tech +10 against Miami. Yeah. We both had that. We both loved that one. We thought Georgia Tech might win outright. Miami barely slipped on by, which, by the way, Miami is putting together a passing game out of nowhere.
They might make the ACC championship. It's weird. After De'Aaron King went out, the new one's out there in Florida.
He can sling it, bro. He can absolutely sling
it. I'd say Manny Diaz's job.
Yeah, no doubt. I had Arizona State -8.5 at home against USC. Drake London out. That was one of my favorite picks. I lost on Baylor. Remember, I had Baylor -6.5 against TCU. I lost on that one. I think that was it. Do you remember? I think that's all I have written down here. And then I know that I had the over in the Wake Forest game. We both had that.
You had first half over too, and that cashed like instantly.
And that cashed as well. Yeah, I had first half.
That cashed instantly.
That was it. That literally cashed with like 7 minutes left in the second quarter.
Yeah.
That was crazy. So for this week, I'm actually going right back to the well, man. I'm going right back to Arizona State. Look, there's this thing that I noticed in college football, and you don't see it in the NFL because these are professionals that make money. In college football, teams start to quit. And I don't mean that players don't go out there and play and try hard. They quit on the season when they realize they don't have a chance for a bowl game or the season just bad. You just start to see teams quit. Well, I like to back teams that are coached like Herm Edwards. Herm Edwards gets the guys going. They don't quit. We saw that last week. It was a tough game against USC. Third, fourth quarter, they came out and took over and took the lead. They're playing a Washington team that is they're just terrible. First, their coach is going to be suspended for doing stupid stuff against Oregon. They're just a bad football team this year. They're a disappointing football team. Everyone thought they were going to be good. That even hurts them more. Arizona State still has stuff to play for because if Utah can mess up, Arizona State has a shot to get into that big Pac-12 title game. It will take a lot of Utah messing up, but there is a chance. I think Arizona State hits the gas. I like them -5.5. There was one other one that I had here that I really liked. I like Baylor. Didn't you say you like them as
Yeah, I was
well?
gonna put that, I was going to put that as a long because there's not any. Really, I try to keep my lines above 10 or 12 for the third and long. But this week, really, I mean, you might bring it up. This week, there's no long shot odds line that you can really even say, oh, it might come close, like a Hail Mary throw. These odds are just crazy on the lines that are long. So I was just going to put Baylor there at 5.5. I think they keep that close against Oklahoma for sure.
I agree.
And my other one would be like UNC. I know the public is going to back UNC a lot, and that's why the line's as big as it is. Vegas knows how to get suckers in like that.
Yeah.
But UNC plus 6.5, maybe Hal can keep it going. Hal might want to actually come out and draft prospect-wise show what he has against Pickett. So that's a good little draft prospect watch again between Hal and Pickett. And maybe I think UNC can cover that 6.5 against Pitt. I don't know if they win outright, but I think they cover the 6.5.
Yeah, that's a good one there. There's no doubt about that. I'm with you on that. And then the other short one that I like, Auburn and Bo Nix play so much better at home. I think that they beat Mississippi State by a touchdown at home. I just really like the way that Auburn's coached. Yeah, there you go.
I had that as another one that I was like, I like it, but I'm not going to bring it up. So that was perfect.
That's awesome. Yeah, like Mike Leach is doing a good job, but Auburn, they're coached so well, man. And Bo Nix is a whole different team at home, so I like them there. But other than that, man, this is a pretty gross field of places to look at right here. So, but those are some good best bets that we like there for sure.
Yeah, you had a fun play that I figured you'd want to talk about. You might have forgot in the Tennessee Georgia game. I would not touch that line at all, but Kayvon has a real fun play for you.
Yeah, so this is a fun, interesting play. It go small on it, nothing crazy. I would look to play Tennessee's team total over. Now, they haven't come out exactly what it is, but I assume it's going to be right around 14. That's my guess because that's the most that's been scored against Georgia yet. It might even be lower. It might be like 9 or 10, to be honest with you. And if it's 9 or 10, then I for sure will be betting it. If it's 14, small, fun little bet. Tennessee team total over. Tennessee's not going to win this game. They're not. They're not going to win it. And like Shawn said, I wouldn't touch that line. But Tennessee's at home. It's a huge game for them. And, dude, Hooker can ball, bro. I mean, like, he's a fun quarterback to watch. Josh Heupel kind of has some good things going there. I think that maybe they could hit on a couple of big plays, maybe slip by for 2 touchdowns. I can see them getting 14, 17 points on the board in this game. It's a fun play, not a spread, not a total. Tennessee team total over whatever it is, which I will tweet it out on the Money Down pod. I'll have Shawn do that once it comes out. Usually the team totals come out around Wednesday or Thursday. So we'll tweet that out when it comes out.
Yeah, we're a little early because I'm on vacation back in North Carolina, so I don't have my usual setup in case y'all heard a different sound quality, see the different background format and anything. So, yeah, I'll definitely tweet that out. I'm curious to see if Vegas goes along with your thinking because I don't know if you do this, but I try to handicap as best I can before I look at the line.
Yes.
I like try to think about what I do it in my head, obviously, and then look at the line and I try to line them up. So I am curious to see if Vegas might try to do a sneaky like 17 right in there because that'd be a little high right there.
Yeah.
See, that'd be tough. See, that's what I'm thinking.
I would be worried about 17 there. But it would be that's a good point. It would be interesting to see.
Yeah, so that's right around where I'd handicap it if I was them. So that's something to watch out for. But I'll definitely keep in contact with Kayvon about it and tweet out some stuff like that. Yeah. Also, we're gonna start tweeting out even for the NFL and stuff. We're gonna start tweeting out some fun prop bets. Sometimes we do it too early for the props to come out, so we can't really throw it. So we're gonna start throwing that up there and making sure we get the social game going. So you keep in touch with that. Before I throw it to Kayvon to finish us off. If you're listening to us on Spotify, follow along. We're just now getting out on Spotify. These last 2 episodes should be the first ones uploaded to it. Like I said in the last pod, but if you just listen to us for college football, iTunes should be coming here. The podcast network should be coming in about 5 to 8 business days, like a 2-week span. Like I said on the last one, they have to check over, make sure we're not obviously doing some inciting riots, saying some terrible stuff, check over the pod, make sure it's all good. So they'll get that going, and that'll obviously go to new people. And if you're listening to us on YouTube, give us that like, subscribe, comment so we can get back to you. I know these college football fans are feisty, man. I just went at 5 different fan bases. If you're part of that fan base, come after me. I'm ready. I'll come back at you. So make sure you come back at me.
Yeah, let us know. I want to hear you guys come at Shawn. Come at him. Come at him. We appreciate you guys for listening. Seriously, give us a like, give us a subscribe, give us a comment. Follow us on Twitter. This is the Money Big 10, bro. The big episode number 10. That's a milestone in the podcast, and I can't wait to get to 100. And as we keep on going, thank you for listening. That's my guy Shawn White, Kayvon Izami. Follow us at the Money Down Pod or at Money Down Pod. Follow us on Twitter at Dumpster Fire Fan, at Kayvon_sports, and we will be back later in the week to break down NFL week 11, I think it is now. So yeah, we'll be back then to break it all down. See you guys then.